Coming up on Top 30, 2 days of dangerous rock falls at Yosemite National Park. Julia Louis-Dreyfus reveals her cancer diagnosis and the future of shopping in virtual reality. It's all the news you need to know. This is Top 30.
Scary moments at Yosemite National Park when, for the second day in a row, a giant piece of rock came crashing down and a tourist caught it on camera. One witness said the rock was 10 times the size of an apartment, but experts are still trying to determine the actual measurements. It fell from El Capitan, a rock formation that's about 3,000 feet high, making it a very popular destination for rock climbers. One person was injured in the collapse, but his condition hasn't been released. Just a day earlier, a 1,300-ton chunk of rock came crashing down in the very same area. It was 130 feet tall and 65 feet wide. A British tourist was killed, and his wife was taken to the hospital. The LA Times reports Yosemite documents more than 80 rock falls a year, but injuries are usually rare.
The Secretary of Health and Human Services says that he will repay taxpayers for his extensive use of private planes while serving in the Trump administration. Tom Price said in a public statement on Thursday, quote, "The taxpayers won't pay a dime for my seat on those planes." The announcement followed an article by Politico that said Price took at least 26 flights on private jets since May of this year. Those charter flights reportedly cost at least $400,000. A second report said Price used military aircraft for international travel at a cost of more than $500,000. But here's the thing. Price will write a personal check to the Treasury Department for just over $51,000, a small fraction of the cost that he incurred. Health and Human Services said that amount covers the cost of Price's seat on those planes and that the total bill is under review. It does not cover the costs of seats for staff traveling with Price or for renting the planes or crew, which is why Price's emphatic statement about taxpayers' money not paying a dime for his seat is disingenuous, because taxpayers are paying for the majority of those flights' costs.
These are your quick hits. A travel warning was issued on Friday urging Americans not to visit Cuba. The U.S. has already removed more than half of their personnel from the island. The travel warning is in response to what they're calling specific attacks on American diplomats, a reference to the mysterious sonic attacks that started last year. Elon Musk's mom, May Musk, is the newest face of CoverGirl. The 69-year-old model is part of CoverGirl's push for diversity. Beauty is for all ages, she tweeted. Elon tweeted back, "Congrats, Mom, I love you." Isaiah Thomas was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers, where he'll reunite with Kevin Love. The two played AAU ball together as teenagers, and this old photo of them is making the rounds. Now that they're teammates again, they've recreated the picture 12 years later.
The amount of people defaulting on their student loans is rising. Millions of people defaulted on $144 billion in student loans for at least 9 months, which is a 12% rise from the year before. And people defaulting for a second time is also on the rise. The Education Department reports that 11.5% of people defaulted within 3 years of leaving college. For-profit colleges typically have the highest default rate, and this time was no different, with a rate of 15.5%. Public colleges held steady at 11.3%, while private non-profit colleges were up at 7.4%. Student loan defaults are closely monitored because schools will not be eligible to receive federal student aid if their rates rise above 30% for 3 consecutive years.
Hollywood stars and even political leaders are sending their best wishes to Julia Louis-Dreyfus after she revealed she had breast cancer. The Veep star sent this tweet Thursday saying, "1 in 8 women get breast cancer. Today, I'm the one." Julia found out about the cancer the day after winning her 6th straight Emmy for her role in Veep. Hillary Clinton offered her support, tweeting, "Julia, you're in our thoughts and our hearts." Tony Hale, her co-star on Veep, tweeted, "We love this woman." And Christina Applegate tweeted, "Mama, find me. Let's talk if you want." Applegate was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2008 and then had a double mastectomy. HBO said they will adjust Veep's production schedule if they have to accommodate Julia's treatment.
After being devastated by back-to-back hurricanes, Caribbean islands face a long road to recovery, a road made longer by their poverty and dependence on tourism. Travel and tourism account for a higher share of gross domestic product in the Caribbean than anywhere else in the world. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council, about 30 million people visited the region last year, spending about $35 billion. While Puerto Rico faces a recovery that could take years, its neighbors depend even more on tourist dollars. The British Virgin Islands rely on tourism for an astonishing 96% of its GDP. They were hit by both Maria and Irma. Infrastructure collapsed, power and phone lines are down, many buildings were completely destroyed. The country of Antigua and Barbuda has more than 19,000 jobs in the tourism sector. One of the islands, Barbuda, is said to be completely uninhabitable. 1/3 of the buildings on Dutch St. Martin were destroyed by Hurricane Irma. More than a dozen were killed. Afterwards, residents began leaving the island, but without jobs to come back to, it is unclear if they will ever return. Let's go to the New York Stock Exchange for our Fox Business Minute with your friend and mine. Here's Nicole Petalides. Nicole, what do you got?
Hey, Richard. In business news, Ford is debuting a pickup that can tow 30,000 pounds, and that is just one of a handful of impressive new additions to the 2018 F-Series Super Duty Limited truck. Cameras enable easier parking and backing up to a trailer. It also got a panoramic moonroof, plus heated seats and steering wheel. IKEA can probably send help. The Swedish home goods company is buying TaskRabbit. TaskRabbit is a hot commodity in the startup world. They allow users to hire people to help with chores, housework, and even assemble your complicated IKEA furniture. This is IKEA's attempt to face off against its digital rivals. The NBA is getting with the times. The league teamed up with Nike to offer connected jerseys thanks to a built-in chip. People wearing the jerseys will be able to get exclusive access to stories and even real-time scores and stats during the games. The gear is set for global release this month. Richard?
Nicole, this is interesting stuff. Tell me, has Nike put out any other smart clothes?
Well, they did. They added a whole new line of warm-up gear, including a jacket that uses Thermoflex fabric. This will help the athletes to maintain their body temperature during the warm-ups and down times. Overall, I got to tell you, this is the first on-court warm-up jacket with a performance hood. Nice, right, Richard?
Sounds great. Excellent warm-up gear update. Nicole, thank you.
Christy Brinkley's had the honor of gracing the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition 3 times, while appearing in it 9 times. Wow. But now the iconic supermodel's 19-year-old daughter, Sailor Brinkley Cook, will carry the torch as it's been announced she'll appear solo in the 2018 Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Sailor made her first appearance in the swimsuit issue earlier this year alongside her mom and half-sister Alexa Ray Joel. Cook's solo debut will take place in Aruba and be live-streamed for the world to see. The magazine will hit the stands in February, and so begins Supermodel 2.0. More Americans now have a sexually transmitted disease than ever before. A new report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says STD infections reached an all-time high in 2016. It's the 3rd year in a row STD rates have increased. In just 1 year, there were over 2 million new cases of chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis. Unbelievably, there was even an increase in infants born with an STD. One CDC director singled out these cases as, quote, exposing hidden, fragile populations in need that are not getting the healthcare and preventive services they deserve. So the CDC is calling on state and local health officials to increase measures for prevention and treatment. They say people can also reduce their risk by using condoms and getting tested. The agency also suggests doctors make STD screenings a regular part of medical appointments. All 3 of the STDs that increased are treatable with antibiotics, but those who don't get diagnosed don't get treated.
It is time now for Royal Watch with the Sun. Let's check in with Arthur Edwards, the Sun's royal photographer for 40 years. He is in London. Arthur, welcome back. There has been a backlash to a comment a British member of Parliament made about Prince Harry. What happened?
She said he couldn't fly a helicopter. She said he was useless. She said all he should just go and sit in a helicopter and go vroom vroom. Said he failed his helicopter exam 4 times, which is completely untrue.
Did she made a wider point, which is after Grenfell, that tragedy where nearly 100 people died in the tower block, that maybe the country needs to think about how it spends its public funds?
Well, she might have a point, but, you know, I mean, targeting Harry's helicopter abilities, I don't think is a way to make it. I mean, she did criticise Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, saying her and Prince William are ridiculous, and that Catherine spends £150 on a sweater, which you could feed a family of 4 for that. And I can tell you, it's not going down too well with the constituents.
Arthur, my good friends here in the United States of America would like to get an update on Kate's pregnancy. What can you tell us?
Well, she's still, you know, not working through morning sickness, and William was given some advice this week by an elderly lady who suggested ginger snaps. Said it worked for her. William said, well, we tried that, but it didn't work for Catherine, he said.
Arthur Edwards, you are one of the greats. You are a legend. It is a joy to talk to you. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
In today's Hometown Stories from Fox 2 Detroit, 15-year-old Robert Brown III was filling out a job application at a Sterling Heights, Michigan restaurant when he went into cardiac arrest. That's when Susan Pendergraft sprang into action, performing CPR until paramedics arrived.
I think it was instinct to want to help someone.
The teen was taken to a nearby hospital where he received a pacemaker.
I'm just happy that she saved my life. I just want to see her one more time.
Thanks to Susan's actions, Robert is now back at school living the life of a happy teenager.
I'm always looking to help someone. I will continue to do that. I hope others see what I did and will do the same.
And for our final story, a post on hiking forum 14ers.com reported a hiker heard barking coming from the top of Mount Boss, but was unable to find the dog behind the bark. Trinity Smith and Sean Nichols saw the post and decided to investigate. And wow, good thing they did. After an arduous hike up the 14,000-foot peak in Park County, Colorado, the pair heard faint yelps, which led them to a stranded dog alone on a cliff. The dog turned out to be 14-year-old Chloe. She'd gotten loose from her home near the base of the mountain 6 weeks prior. Nichols told Top 30 that Chloe is currently at home with her grateful owners beginning the recovery process. She is sleeping, eating, and doing great all in all, considering the circumstances.
A new partnership between the United States and Russia could mean exploration much deeper into space, including Mars. NASA announced it will work with its Russian counterpart to build a space station near the moon. The space station could serve a variety of purposes, including being used as a pit stop for long trips, a staging post to test systems, and also a place to store supplies. Both the US and Russia have expressed a desire to travel to Mars, and this space station could be an integral part in meeting that goal. The two countries are working on common exploration goals and missions that could start as early as 2020. America and Russia, two historic rivals on Earth, coming together in space to put us on two different planets and make humans invincible. Americans don't cook anymore. According to research shared in the Harvard Business Review, eating out has become so popular over the last 2 decades that the average household now spends $3,008 per year on dining out. Eddie Voon has been researching the cooking habits of Americans for more than 15 years and found that only 10% of people actually like to cook. Spending $10 on lunch every workday adds up to about $2,500 per year. On the flip side, if you make your own lunch, you're likely to save about half that cost. The fact there are so many cooking shows on television doesn't mean people like to cook. It just means people like to watch television.
Airbnb has partnered with Sarah Jessica Parker for a shoe shopping adventure to rival all others. The experience, which sold out within 2 hours of its debut online, features a 2-hour shoe shopping extravaganza with Carrie Bradshaw herself. The encounter will kick off at Bloomingdale's iconic flagship store, where Sarah will help participants handpick the perfect pair of SJP collection shoes. From there, the group will grab Froyo at 40 carats before ending the day at the New York City Ballet. Airbnb is umbrellaing the excursion under their New York City experience, which also features a climbing experience with Baby Driver's Ansel Elgort and a tee-off with former New York Giants player Michael Strahan. All proceeds from the experience will be donated to the New York City Ballet. Shoe shopping for a good cause? I'm in.
In 2013, 23-year-old Belle Gibson told the internet that she had been diagnosed with brain cancer, but then went on to cure it with natural remedies that she developed herself. But the entire story was a lie. In April, she was found guilty of fraud in an Australian court, but this week a judge ruled that Gibson would have to pay a $320,000 fine. Up until the time of her confession, Gibson had made $322,000 in sales through an iPhone app and a cookbook called The Whole Pantry. According to Gizmodo, Gibson, now 25, would update daily on the status of her cancer, as well as the techniques she said she used to cure it, which included eliminating dairy, gluten, and coffee from her diet. Eventually, Gibson confessed to the lie, saying, "No, none of it's true. I don't want forgiveness. I just think speaking out was the responsible thing to do," using a turn of phrase there to make herself sound ethical, something she is definitely not. California Governor Jerry Brown has expressed interest in banning gas and diesel cars. The state's top climate change regulator said in an interview published on Tuesday, "I have gotten messages from the governor asking, why haven't we done something already?" Mary Nichols, chair of the California Air Resources Board, said in an interview with Bloomberg News, "California has for years pushed automakers to offer cars that produce no emissions, turning the state into the nation's largest market for electric cars. It has not, however, proposed an outright ban on cars running on the classic internal combustion engine. France and Britain will bar sales of new gasoline and diesel vehicles, but not for a while, by 2040. Norway has set a target of 2025, India 2030, even China is working on a ban, but no timetable has been announced. California will need to phase out new fossil fuel-burning vehicles by mid-century anyway, if the state is to meet its climate goals. Cars and trucks represent California's biggest source of greenhouse gas emissions by far. In 2015, they produced 34% of the state's total emissions, that according to the California Air Board's data. The transition would essentially be easier for California to make, given that companies like Tesla are based there, and it's already home to more than half of the nation's electric cars.
Will Justin Timberlake be bringing sexy back to the Super Bowl? According to Variety, Justin is the frontrunner to headline the halftime show next year. But there's still controversy hanging over the singer's head that could put a kink in his comeback. It's been 14 years since he famously ripped off part of Janet Jackson's top during their Super Bowl 37 halftime show, resulting in the now infamous wardrobe malfunction seen around the world. But with Timberlake expected to drop a new album at the beginning of 2018, a performance at the Super Bowl would be ideal. Some reports say the Can't Stop the Feeling singer is already finalizing a deal to perform. It's been 14 years. Time to give Justin a second chance.
MasterCard and Swarovski have teamed up on a virtual reality shopping app. They claim it's the first time ever shoppers will be allowed to complete transactions in a virtual environment. Shoppers place their phones into a VR headset. They then look around a virtual Swarovski showroom where they can read or watch videos about the products. To make a purchase, all they have to do is look at the button that pays through MasterCard's digital payment service. According to one study, 42% of Americans online say they've never even heard of VR. But 20 years ago, there weren't many people using the internet for shopping. One expert called this new app an evolution. It's also an example of physical retailers hastening their own demise. A new app means we don't have to wait in line anymore. Placer works by matching users with line sitters who get paid to deal with the hassle of wasting time by holding the user's place in line. All you have to do is open the app and send out an alert to pair you with a placer, someone who will wait in line for you. Placers enter their rate and are chosen based on price and user ratings. The selector placer waits in line, alerts the user when the wait is about to be over, and then switches out with them. It is currently only available in New York City, but if successful, it could be coming to a city near you. Placer is a new addition to what's become known as gig economy jobs, part-time employment opportunities that help people keep afloat. The only place I really need this is the only place I can't have it, airport security queues. Until then, I'm downloading nothing.
Well, that's it for today's Top 30. Here are some stories coming up that you need to know. That adorable puppy for sale online could be a scam. More Americans are falling for fake online pet ads. And this motorhome will have you riding in luxury on land and at sea, and it can be yours for just $850,000. And a young football fan got a surprise gift from 2 NFL players. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Like, follow, and subscribe to @Top30 TV and never miss a story. We'll see you next time right here on Top 30.